So I'm just gonna go right out and say it. Black Ops 4 so far has definitely missed the mark on a handful of different things. Without a doubt, this game has been criticized more than any other title that we have ever seen in the past, and some of that criticism is certainly reasonable. Now that's not to say the game is a complete wash, because frankly to me, the core gameplay on its own in both multiplayer and Blackout, I find to be incredibly fun. However, this gameplay that we have here today is actually a whole lot more like the 2.0 version of Black Ops 4 in all reality, as we'll discover by the end of this video what Black Ops 4 was truly meant to be, ranging from its once highly anticipated campaign to the original vision for multiplayer and even an entirely different Blackout map. Today we're taking a look at the original vision for Black Ops 4 and how it changed so drastically prior to launching back in October of 2018. But before we go ahead and get into all of that, if you guys are new here and you want to stay up to date with everything going on in the world of Call of Duty, feel free to subscribe with your post notifications turned on. That way you'll always know when I upload a new video. And of course, if you guys do enjoy this one, let me know by dropping a like rating on it, as it would be much appreciated and it does really help the channel out. And now let's get into what Black Ops 4 was really meant to be before everything went awry. So to preface all of this information here today, I do want to say that all of this information is courtesy of Hedex over on Twitter. Hopefully I am pronouncing that right. Knowing me, I am probably not. But regardless, he is the one who ended up tweeting this information. But also with that, take what we have here today with a grain of salt, as this info is essentially leaked in a sense, as it is not coming directly from Treyarch or Activision, so there is some gray area to say the least. With all of that out of the way though, this is the vision that Black Ops 4 was originally created with. From the get-go, the game was created to be a lot more similar to Black Ops 3 more than anything else, since BO3 did end up going over pretty well with the community. Initially in multiplayer, Treyarch decided to do away completely with the standard kill streaks and score streaks in order to prevent camping specifically for streaks, and also to encourage playing the objective a little bit more. Hedex also adds that this would ideally make dying to specialists just a little bit less infuriating, which honestly I gotta say is a pretty good point, I'm not gonna lie. Anyways, continuing on, Fog of War was created with the intention of replacing the UAV, since obviously without streaks there would be no standard streak that gave you enhanced minimap awareness. But once streaks were added back into the final version of Black Ops 4, Fog of War was toned down a little bit to be a little bit less effective, if you will. On top of that, jetpacks were originally supposed to be in the game as a piece of gear, much like stim shot or the acoustic sensor. However, after some play tests, the feature was removed, which honestly is probably for the better, seeing as boots on the ground really got people excited for this game. And frankly, while we are on the topic of the game's movement, I honestly think Black Ops 4 has one of the smoothest movement systems that we've ever seen in Call of Duty, so really no complaints from me there. Jetpacks though, man, that would have been very, very interesting to say the least. Anyways, create a class was also apparently very different, as the Pick 10 system was not originally going to be included in the game, but instead we'd have a system more similar to World War II's, just minus the whole divisions, with primaries and secondaries having a predetermined number of attachment slots available. Molotovs and frag grenades also were not in the original version of Black Ops 4 either, as specialist equipment was supposed to rule over the standard equipment choices that we are so used to seeing in Call of Duty titles. And speaking of specialists, man, they used to be very, very different. And frankly, I am pretty glad that we didn't see the original versions of them added in, because if you thought dying to Nomad's dog or getting your attack helicopter hacked by Zero was bad, yeah, the OG specialists sound even more annoying. On top of having a specialist weapon or ability alongside an equipment with each specialist, originally there was going to be an ultimate ability for every single character as well. And Hedex actually lists some of the examples of these ultimate abilities, as Recon having a UAV, Torque having a sentry gun, Prophet having the Mantis robot, Ruin having some kind of airstrike, and similar things of that nature for the rest of the specialists as well. Which, sure, that might sound kinda cool, but if ultimate abilities were earned like the rest of the specialist upgrades in the game that we have now, you would essentially be able to earn a Mantis for free or an airstrike for free, which would probably get old pretty quickly. Obviously though, with the addition of score streaks, the ultimate abilities were relocated to be earnable via score and universal regardless of which character you are playing as. Apparently, BO4 was also supposed to have some kind of war mode, just like World War II, based in larger maps, but ultimately that ended up getting cut out too. Now, over to the single-player vision, as we have discussed briefly here on the channel in the past, Black Ops 4 was originally going to have a campaign that was based around a 2v2 co-op story, but that ended up getting scrapped pretty early on. However, after that, Treyarch began to work on various solo missions that we now know as the Specialist HQ, so that is pretty much how that came to be. In addition to that, Blackout was also originally very different, and this is what really intrigues me the most because frankly, the Blackout that we have now and the Blackout that is mentioned in these upcoming tweets are pretty much two different things entirely. That said though, Blackout's original map was not going to be comprised of so many iconic locations spread out over a fairly large and diverse map. Instead, the original Blackout map was going to be made up of 3 large skyscrapers all connected by various bridges, and the zone, or collapse if you will, was just going to be the doors closing, eventually forcing everyone to one smaller location, which was apparently a parking lot underground. So pretty much this OG map was, at least in my mind, construction but times 3 and just a little bit more filled out and complete. But that was the entire map. There was no hilly mountainous area or desert or foresty woods. It was just straight up construction multiplied times 3 and connected by some bridges. Now I can only imagine that that played extremely awkward because of all the verticality involved, but nonetheless I can't say I'm not really intrigued by the idea at the same time, and quite honestly I would love to have been able to play and see what exactly gameplay was like on that version of the map. But as far as Blackout Changes go, we've also got a few more pretty interesting quirks and features that used to be in the game that were scrapped prior to launch as well. Initially, there used to be a Create a Class menu, perhaps like what we see in the COD Mobile Battle Royale, where each class gives you certain upgrades, aka specialist items and whatnot, but either way, there was actually class creation in Blackout in the past. On top of that, there also used to be spawn points on the map instead of a drop zone, which seems kinda interesting to say the least. I can't say I'd be a huge fan of that, but honestly, I wouldn't really know unless I tried it. And in addition to that, there also used to be weapon rarity in Blackout as well. So you could, for instance, find a common rampart or maybe an ultra rampart, and according to Hedex, the common rampart might spawn as just a naked gun, simply the weapon itself, no attachments, just the gun and some ammo. Whereas the ultra version of the weapon would spawn with more attachments and perhaps operator mods, I would assume as well, which also would be a pretty interesting mechanic to think of when it comes to how exactly it might change the gameplay overall. Now, that is effectively the original version of Black Ops 4 that we know of, at least as of right now. But on top of everything else we have already discussed here today, one pretty big piece of intel that has been floating around the community within the last 24 hours or so is that of Jason Blundell's rumored firing and what that means for Treyarch. However, here's the thing. Activision actually came out and commented on these rumors, which is something they normally never do. If you are on social media and you've been active in the past day or so, you probably saw that a lot of people were saying the co-studio head of Treyarch was let go earlier this week. But thanks to Activision, apparently Jason Blundell has not been fired at all. Activision specifically said Jason has not been fired, and in fact, he continues to direct the zombies experience for Black Ops 4. In addition, Jason, along with a handful of other developers, are working with Activision to develop new creative opportunities. And that is something that personally I find to be pretty interesting because perhaps that means in the future we'll see maybe a one-off type of Call of Duty game that specifically focuses on, say, zombies for instance, since Blundell is a part of this. That is just a little something that I wanted to throw into the end of the video here, as we were on the topic of dramatic changes when it comes to Black Ops 4. Anyways, with that being said, that is effectively going to wrap things up for today. If you guys enjoyed the video, let me know by dropping a like rating on it, as it would be much appreciated. And of course, if you guys are brand new here to the channel and you want to stay up to date with everything going on in the world of Call of Duty, ranging from news to leaks to updates and everything else in between, feel free to subscribe with your post notifications turned on. That way you'll always know when I upload a new video. As always, be sure to use code IMMORTAL to get a discount on all G Fuel, Control Freak, and Respawn products. All of those links can be found down in the description below. And once again, thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.